Vladimir at OM with this week's Tactical Tuesday. This week we're going to be talking about Google Tag Manager's new tag assistant. It's their new debug mode. But real quick, before we get into that, if you're not familiar with Tag Manager, Google Tag Manager, it's a free, easy to use tool that Google provides to manage tags without having to edit code, which is really great for digital marketers like me who know their way around a few things but aren't always completely comfortable going in and editing code. So Google Tag Manager is great for doing that. Right now I'm in the interface for Google Tag Manager for Grow with OM's website, and the changes that Google recently made it so that the preview or the Google Tag Manager debug mode functions differently than before. The main reasons to utilize this would be when you are trying to initiate and test out new tags or triggers and want to make sure that those function as they should, rather than inputting new tags and triggers, submitting, figuring out whether it works, and then realizing that certain elements don't work for one reason or another. The preview or debug mode allows you to test everything all at once within a sandbox environment, and then when everything is working according to plan, you can submit all those changes at one time. So before, if you were familiar with Tag Manager, when you would click preview, you would get a orange box here near the top of the interface, and whenever you were in a tab for that domain that was attached to the Google Tag Manager container, it would allow you to debug within that new tab. Now, however, as I will demonstrate, when you click on preview, you'll be taken to the new Tag Assistant beta, which is still attached to your container, as you can see here, but it will ask you to input the URL for which you want to do the testing. For this test, I'm going to do growwithom.com, and I'm going to include debug signal in the URL. This is recommended by Google to leave on, and it's on by default. But as it says here, if your site has some issues due to it not allowing any sort of appending on the URL, you can easily uncheck it. I'm going to start it off. You will be brought to a new tab with the page. Again, if you were familiar with Google Tag Manager in the past, it would have the debug load up from the bottom, and then you would have everything, all the tags and triggers and other components that you could view on the bottom. Now, instead, it has right here, debugger connected, and informs you that the debug information for this page is viewable in the Tag Assistant window, which, as you can see here, is still on, and you see here it's blinking to inform me that it's connected. What I like to do, or what I've been doing since I've been using this, is I'll pull out, assuming you're using only one screen, I'll pull out the window that I'm trying to test and merge these two. I'll stretch this out a little bit. That way you have both working on both sides so that you can get a sense of what you're trying to test. Of course, if you need to, because of certain width parameters, you can move it over and just have it as a separate window. For this test, I'll have it side by side. so everyone can see them. It'll inform you on the tag assistant window that the tag assistant has been connected with a domain that you had instructed. You click continue here, and you will have, similar to before, you will have the output of the container, the tags, variables, data layer, and errors. You can check out each of these individually and see again which tags were fired, which tags were not fired. Click into them and see, sorry, let me move this, see which parameters are loading or not loading and why. So everything from this vantage point is very similar to how Tag Manager worked before. One of the key differences now is each new action that you take on the debug environment will now actually load a separate instance here. Took a second there, but as you can see, when I first went to the home page, I had this set. Now, when I clicked on Contact Us, now I have these items here. I still have the tags, the variables, data layer, and error as before, but these are only what occurred when I made that last action, which was going to Contact Us. As you can see, for this particular one, none of the tags fired, and I can go into this, for instance, and say, why was this not fired? And it'll inform me of that. The only other thing that I will mention as I go back to one window is leaving the debug is also different than before. You can close out the window, as I just did, is one option, but you will have it available in history to reconnect more quickly than prior, as I just demonstrated right now. Just know that if you leave the window open, it will inform you as when you click, when you try to exit out of the tag assistant, if it will remind you, do you want to stop debugging? It will also inform you if you want to keep the domain that you just had enabled for debugging or stop it altogether. In this case, I'm going to stop the debugging, and you will also have within this tag assistant a history now of all the domains that you've connected within your tag assistant, so that you can go and either reconnect quickly or and see which containers are available, add new domains, or if for whatever reason you want to eliminate that from history, you can go in here and delete it as well. Thank you.